All right, good evening. I'd like to call the Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 to order. Will the city call the roll, please?
Ms. Defoe.
Here.
Mr. Friedman. Here. Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. Libet.
Present.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Havis. Madam Chairperson, you have a quorum to conduct business.
Thank you. Are there any communications?
Anything other than I gave you? No, not at this time.
Okay, so we'll move into the public hearing. For those of you who haven't joined us before, let me briefly describe how we conduct business. The city will call the case by the case number, read a brief summary of that case. We ask the appellant to step up to the podium. There's a sign-in sheet. Please sign in with your name and address, and then explain to the board what you're asking for and why. The city will then read a findings of fact. We'll ask you to agree with those facts or add any other facts at that time. Then the city will give their recommendation. Then we'll open public comment. So if you're here to speak on a case, that would be your opportunity to come forward and address the board with your comments. Then we'll close public comment. The board will deliberate and then make a decision on that case before moving on to the next case. Okay, so will the city call the first case, please?
Case number 25-01. The City of Southfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing regarding the appellant, David Mercury, OLY, Project Manager, Lombardo Homes, representing the owner, Carmen Stewart, which is a change from the legal notice, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To construct a new single-family residence with a non-conforming front yard setback, 20 feet proposed, 40 feet required. The property is located on the south side of Lake Ravines Drive between Thorncliffe Street and Cherrimore Lane at 0 Lake Ravines Drive, Section 30, Sidwell parcel number 762430351053, zoned RE, single-family residential. This appeal is to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Is the appellant here? Please step to the microphone. And again, state your name and address for the record and also sign in, please.
First name's David, last name's Mercure, address is 17777, 28 Mile, Ray Township, Michigan, of course, 48096.
Thank you. And if you could explain to the board what you're asking for and why, please.
So we are asking for a 20-foot variance to decrease the front setback from 40 feet to 20 feet on the basis that this site has significant topography in it, right? There's some natural features as far as there's wetlands, there's floodplain in there. In our opinion, we would like to ask the board to consider reducing the front setback on the basis that we can reduce the amount of tree clearing, we can reduce potential impacts to wetlands if we had to push the house farther back, and we can essentially build Ms. Stewart a nice home in a nice community and utilize the space as it's intended.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, David Mercure, OLY Project Manager, Lombardo Homes, representing the owner, Carmen Stewart, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To construct a new single-family residence with a non-conforming front yard setback, 20 feet proposed, 40 feet required. The property is located on the south side of Lake Ravines Drive between Thorncliffe Street and Cherrimore Lane at 0 Lake Ravines Drive, Section 30, Sidwell parcel number 762430351053, zoned RE, single-family residential. This appeal is to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance. The appellant, David Mercure, OLY Project Manager, Lombardo Homes, representing the owner, Carmen Stewart, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To construct a new single-family residence with a non-conforming front yard setback, 20 feet proposed, 40 feet required. The property is located on the south side of Lake Ravines Drive between Thorncliffe Street and Chermore Lane at 0 Lake Ravines Drive, Section 30, Sidwell parcel number 762430351053, zoned RE Single Family Residential. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned RE Single Family Residential and are developed with single-family dwellings in the Ravines subdivision. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals the properties to the north, south, east, and west are mostly 1- and 2-story single-family dwellings. The exteriors are made of mostly brick and siding. Most of the homes in the area have attached garages. The construction of surrounding properties ranges from 1,400 square feet to approximately 2,500 square feet. The surrounding properties are mostly conforming with lot size, setback, and lot coverage requirements. The subject property is a 1.05 acre vacant lot. The Ravines branch of the Rouge River below Carpenter Lake Dam runs along the southwest property line of the subject property. Approximately 1/3 of the subject property is protected wetlands and in the flood hazard area. The appellant proposes to construct a 2-story single-family residence on or near the northeasterly edge of the floodplain and protected wetlands. The appellant was denied by the board for a similar request in 2023. See case number 23-14. The appellant, David Mercure, OLY Project Manager, Lombardo Homes, representing the owner, Carmen Stewart, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To construct a new single-family residence with a non-conforming front yard setback, 20 feet proposed, 40 feet required.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
I'm sure you guys will bring up the review of McDonald Associates, the engineering consultants that we had do assessment on the parcel as far as the toe of the slope and steep slopes and inverts of the footings and what have you. So I just want to make that a point, is that the placement of the house is significant. If you were to look at the actual plot plan, there's a bulb that kind of looks to the south where the parcel kind of goes into a V, and we strategically placed the house on that area for a particular reason, and that was to be able to dig a basement, a 810 basement, and it allows us to stay within Michigan building code, right? We cannot exceed a 3-on-1 slope, of course, and we cannot exceed the toe of the slope, essentially the bottom of the footing sliding out from the back of the slope, right? If you were to think of it in this regard, is that if you have too much of a incline and the house's footing is sitting here, essentially there's not enough retaining or retention, right, to hold the house in place, right? So that's why, of course, the state of Michigan has the codes, and that's why we consulted with McDonald Associates to get their professional expertise onto what the best parameters and possibility is for building a house on this parcel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff recommendation to deny the waiver for a decrease of 20 foot in front yard setback for the following reasons. The proposed waiver creates a substantial detriment to the public good and substantially impairs the intent of the ordinance. The proposed waiver is not consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and the regulations which apply to the zoning district. The proposed waiver is not in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would have an adverse or detrimental effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. The appellant owner was denied by the board for a similar front yard setback request. See case number 23-14.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add before we open public comment?
The only thing I'd like to add is that, we requested, a 20-foot front setback on the basis that if we went with 40 foot, we would definitely have wetlands impacts. We have to obtain an Eagle permit. We'd have to increase the amount of tree clearing upon the parcel. And I know it was a public fact last time that they wanted to, preserve as much as necessary, which I agree 100% with residents in the area. I don't want to go that route. I don't want to clear more trees. I don't want to get an Eagle permit. I don't want to fill wetlands. Of course, Mrs. Stewart has the option of doing that. It's all within her right. It's going to cost an exponential amount of money to do that, to build on the parcel. But in hindsight, it's going to be more detrimental to the community, in my opinion, because we are going to take away from the natural features of the parcel itself. And our basis was to try to reason the best we possibly could to whereas can we manipulate or get the house in the parcel itself with the least amount of impact in the area itself. So that's all I ask.
Okay, thank you. So we will now open public comment on this case. If you are here to speak to this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me, Hume Merritt, 23,
Or speak into the microphone. There you go.
Hume Merritt, 23238 Thorncliffe. I live adjacent to the property in question. It seems like every few years, whatever, somebody tries to get a waiver on that property, and it's denied because it presents a safety issue. There's pretty much a blind curve coming around in front of that property. Additionally, the facts that were presented back in July when we were here discussing the requests remain the same pretty much. And for that reason, I feel it should be denied once again.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, if you could sign in, please, I appreciate it. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this case? Okay, if not, we're going to close public comment on this case and turn it over to the board. Mr. Rogers?
My first question is, what's the distance from the property line, the front, to the actual asphalt of Lake Ravines Drive? In other words, I'm trying to find out how much footage would be from the house to the actual, where the cars are. I know it's 20 feet to the property line, but it looks like there's a green belt
Yeah, the
area.
appellant, please step to the microphone.
The distance from the front of the house at the closest point in the front setback is 37 feet, sir.
37 feet to
Yes, sir.
okay. I remember when we did this case a couple years ago, my concern was that that curve, the more time has passed in the last couple of years, I've noticed some subdivisions in the Southfield area where there's more of a kids and school district. They've been putting these bumper curbs in for people who speed on a regular basis, and it forces people to have to actually go the speed limit or less in tricky areas. This is one of those areas where I think people probably speed regardless because it's just the way it curves. I've driven on it many times. I don't want to deny the right for someone to build a house on their own property. You don't want to have to start worrying about putting pilings underneath a footing and getting more involved in, like was discussed, with taking more trees down and things like that. I do think this is a good placement for the house. 37 feet from the front of the house to the actual Lake Ravines Drive is actually not as short as you think, if you're wondering, which I did wonder. And there are a lot of houses you can drive through neighborhoods in here that the houses are actually, you can mark them off 30 feet. And there's kids in school district and all the, so I just feel like I don't have a problem with this, seeing what I now believe is not as detrimental in regards to safety in that regard. I don't want to see this house being pushed back further. I think it might end up being a problem long-term from an engineering perspective. Yeah, sure, the engineer will tell you that the slope has to be a certain way, but there's going to be erosion. There's going to be things that the owner is going to have to do on a regular basis to make sure the integrity of the foundation is always there. I don't know. It's like anything in a house. Does everybody do that? I don't know. So that's my biggest concern. But that's not what I'm voting on tonight. I'm not voting on whether the house is safe from an engineering perspective. I just like where it's placed. I like the fact that the property is not going to be disrupted by putting a house where it's being proposed. And I also think that, honestly, with all of these bumper curbs I've been seeing, there is no reason why the city couldn't be petitioned to throw a couple in on this curve, not just for this house's construction, but because it affects people driving that quick. Anybody pulling out of their driveway could be rear end, whatever the word is, T-boned.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from. And in the end of the day, our city is trying to promote more residences. This is a tax-paying residence that wants to be constructed. It just seems antithetical. I don't know what the word is, once again, but it doesn't seem to go with the philosophy of trying to bring in more residential structures in the city if we say no. And that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Libet?
I guess that I looked at this, it looks like it will be a nice house. I read through all the paperwork, and the thing that concerned me was the fact that it's going to take a lot of care by the individual to look and see. To me, they're literally hanging off a cliff. But that's not my decision, that's their decision. I do know our sustainability is to increase the number of homeowners, and of course, the opportunity to have a home is a plus. This one is going to take a lot of care, but it's not our decision to spend all of that money to take care of that home. Our decision is whether or not we're going to allow this rule to be approved. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Frieden?
I share both of my colleagues' interest in having more homes in Southfield. I believe when this case came before us, we looked at it and said, we denied it, but said we would entertain a waiver of a smaller amount. I think that was 28 feet. Asking for 28 feet of a waiver, I think this is to the limits of what they're reasonably expected to be able to do in terms of the setback, and so I'd support it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jenkins? I don't think your mic's on, sir.
My concern that was said by the staff was that the detrimental effect upon the adjacent or surrounding properties, and I know the area because I don't live too far from there, okay? If in fact he's going to do the right thing and what he said he's going to do, I think he's going to be okay because I seem to understand what he's going to do because, I know how to do these things. So I think he's trying to do the right thing for the community. So as long as he don't challenge the community, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. I agree with what Mr. Friedman said in regards to our consideration of a smaller setback, and I also recognize that there was one neighbor who is expressing safety concern. The last time this came before us, there was many neighbors present with concern about the placement of the house. So I also appreciate that the appellant included some kind of scientific assessments from other construction
Experts.
Thank you, construction experts that spoke to the ground stability and what would be required at that location, and that it sounds like there is safe enough dirt and whatnot under the ground to be able to put a basement in and to go to the depth that they want to go. So it sounds like we're in agreement and interested in granting this waiver request. So, Mr. Rogers, do you want to make a motion?
Sure.
ZBA case 25-01, the appellant David McCure, OLY, project manager, Lombardo Homes, representing the owner, Carmen Stewart. is requesting the following waiver from the board to construct a new single-family residence with a non-conforming front yard setback 20 feet proposed, 40 feet required. Property is located on the south side of Lake Ravines Drive between Thorncliffe Street and Cherrymore Lane. It's 0 Lake Ravines Drive. Sidwell parcel 2430-351-053, zoned RE, single-family residential. I make a motion to approve this variance of 20 feet versus 40 feet. I do not feel that this proposed waiver creates a substantial detriment to the public good and substantial impairs the intent of the ordinance. I don't believe that the proposed waiver is inconsistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and the regulations which apply to the zoning district. And I also don't agree that the proposed waiver is not in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would have an adverse or detrimental effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. Therefore, I make a motion to approve this requested variance.
Do you want any conditions such as permitting through the building department or anything like that?
Yes, I would say that as long as the appellant applies for all the necessary building permits and all the necessary engineering that goes into this project and follows the guidelines, I'm more than satisfied with that.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, your request is granted. Again, just please work with the city on permitting and next steps, okay? Thank you very much. Will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 25-04. The City of Southfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing regarding the appellant, Sharita Daniels, owner, which is a change in the legal notice, is requesting the following waivers from the board. To construct a new two-story, single-family residence with a non-conforming side yard setback, minimum total sides 16 feet proposed, 20 feet required, a variance of 4 feet, with a non-conforming minimum lot width, 40 feet proposed, 65 feet required, a variance of 25 feet, with a non-conforming minimum first floor area, 855 square feet proposed, 1,000 square feet required, a variance of 145 square feet, with a non-conforming required lot area, 5,400 square feet proposed, 7,500 square feet required, a variance of 2,100 square feet, with a non-conforming front yard setback, 28 feet proposed, 30 feet required, a variance of 2 square feet, with a non-conforming maximum height, 27.5 feet proposed, 25 feet allowed. This property is located on the north side of Hilton Street, between Evergreen Road and Santa Barbara at 0 Hilton, Lot 426, Sidwell parcel number 762423382020, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeal is to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Great, thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Kozlowski. I'm a design professional that's representing Ms. Daniels here for this proposed new residential construction.
Okay,
My
could she
address-
also introduce herself on the record, please, with your address?
Hi, my name is Sharita Daniels, 1534 Maddox, West Bloomfield, Michigan, 48324.
Thank you.
And my address is 7904 South Francis, DeWitt, Michigan.
Thank you. Yep. So please proceed.
Okay. Well, what we have is an infill lot in an older development that has been platted at 40 feet. And with the existing side yard requirements right now, we're looking at a 20-foot wide structure, which to me is not very attractive. It's not going to allow us to do any kind of an attached garage. So what we're asking for is a 4-foot variance so we can increase the width of the house to 24 feet, but still maintain that 8-foot minimum side yard, which I think is a good thing to have between houses. I prefer a little bit more room, especially for the contractors, because it's really, difficult, digging and grading an existing subdivision. And the other request that we have is to increase the main floor area, which I believe this might have been for ranches without seeing the deed restrictions. I don't know if that's a true statement or not, but we're proposing a colonial. And if you notice, the footprint of the house is quite large, and the reason for that is we want to do a tandem garage so that we can give the potential owner or renter more space in the garage for a car or whatever they decide to put in there. The overall size of the house will be closer to 1,900 square feet as a colonial, so it's not going to look like a small structure on the site. And then in respect to the height restriction that we're asking for, I kind of just came up with a 612 roof pitch just because I like the proportions and the massing of the house, but that's not a deal breaker to have the height. We can modify that if the council sees fit for that. And then in regard to the front yard setback, asking for 2 feet. Again, I had some old data with a 25-foot setback, so I did not take into consideration that required a 30-foot setback. So that again is not a deal breaker for us. I mean, we would be more than willing to put it at 30 feet.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Sharita Daniels, owner, is requesting the following waivers from the board: to construct a new 2-story single-family residence with a non-conforming side yard setback, minimum total size 16 feet proposed, 20 feet required, a variance of 4 feet, with a non-conforming minimum lot width 40 feet proposed, 65 feet required, a variance of 25 feet, with a non-conforming minimum first floor area 855 square feet proposed, 1,000 square feet required, a variance of 145 square feet, with a non-conforming required lot area 5,400 square feet proposed, 7,500 square feet required, a variance of 2,100 square feet, with a non-conforming front yard setback 28 feet proposed, 30 feet required, a variance of 2 square feet, with a non-conforming maximum height 27.5 feet proposed, 25 feet allowed. The property is located on the north side of Hilton Street between Evergreen Road and Santa Barbara at 0 Hilton Street, lot 426, Sidwell parcel number 762423382020, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeal is to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance. The property is located on the north side of Hilton Street between Evergreen Road and Santa Barbara at 0 Hilton Street, lot 426, Sidwell, parcel number 762423382020, zoned RA, single-family residential. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned RA, single-family residential, and are mostly developed with 1 or 2-story single-family residential structures with mostly attached or detached garages. Several of these residential properties do not have a garage. The subject property is a vacant, undeveloped grass lot within the Evershire subdivision. This lot has several mature trees growing on it and is located between 2 existing single-family residential structures within the Evershire subdivision. There are a few other vacant, undeveloped lots of varying sizes located within the subdivision. The construction of the surrounding properties ranges from approximately 1,000 square feet to approximately 1,900 square feet. The surrounding properties are mostly legal conforming in setback and lot coverage requirements. There is an existing utility easement at the north boundary of the subject property and an existing sewer storm drain at the south boundary of the subject property. Variance request is to construct a new 2-story single-family residence with a non-conforming side yard setback, minimum total size 16 feet proposed, 20 feet required, a variance of 4 feet, with a non-conforming minimum lot width 40 feet proposed, 65 feet required, a variance of 25 feet, with a non-conforming minimum first floor area 855 square feet proposed, 1,000 square feet required, a variance of 145 square feet, with a non-conforming required lot area 5,400 square feet proposed, 7,500 square feet required, a variance of 2,100 square feet, with a non-conforming front yard setback, 28 feet proposed, 30 feet required, a variance of 2 square feet, with a non-conforming maximum height, 27.5 feet proposed, 25 feet allowed.
Is that it? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
I do.
Okay, are there any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
Well, I can't say it's a fact, but I know that, the hardship is that, it makes it a very tight lot to build on, and most of the homes in that development are on 2 lots. And with if we had to go to a narrower home and increase the square footage and do a detached garage, then that's really going to take a bite out of the rear yard, which is nice for green space, because I believe that, it's families that are buying homes nowadays, and they don't want to have their kids playing in the backyard, and they don't want to just look at a garage, with a sea of concrete going to it. To me, those are very desirable, undesirable things that I really don't want to see on this property, and that's why we're asking for this variance. As far as the lot being a certain amount of square footage, there's nothing that we could do about that. It was the way it was platted, and there's no adjacent lots that could be purchased to add to it at this time.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the staff recommendation, please?
The staff recommendation is for denial to construct a new 2-story single-family residence with a non-conforming side yard setback, minimum total sides 16 feet proposed, 20 feet required, a variance of 4 feet with a non-conforming minimum lot width 40 feet proposed, 65 feet required, a variance of 25 feet. With a non-conforming minimum first floor area, 855 square feet proposed, 1,000 square feet required, a variance of 145 square feet. With a non-conforming required lot area, 5,400 square feet proposed, 7,500 square feet required, a variance of 2,100 square feet with a non-conforming front yard setback, 28 feet proposed, 30 feet required, a variance of 2 square feet with a non-conforming maximum height, 27.5 feet proposed, 25 feet allowed. This recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed construction is not consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the proposed construction would not be in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and could have an adverse effect upon the surrounding properties. And the proposed construction does not meet the requirements for most or all of Article 22, Section 5.193, including side yard setback, minimum lot width, minimum first floor area, front yard setback, and maximum height, and also reference Section 5.234B, Article 4 of the zoning ordinance that was provided.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add before we open public comment?
No, I'm good at this time.
Okay. Okay, so we will open public comment on this case. If you are here to speak to this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward and address the board. No? Seeing none, okay, we will close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Friedman?
I actually don't have any issues with this. I would have if one of the adjacent neighbors would have, we've given side yard waivers that are greater than this before. I don't have any issues. I know Southfield is subdividing lots and putting smaller houses on them. I don't have an issue with any of the rest of it.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins?
Like we said before, I want to encourage anyone to do something that brings value to the city of Southfield, okay? So I have no problems with it as well, okay?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everybody. I mean, essentially, what we're talking about here is this land going to stay forever vacant? And we're going to look at these rules and say, well, the split was done after the zoning ordinance was implemented, and we're going to be looking at a vacant piece of property for the rest of eternity. And it kind of goes against what we're trying to do here in the city, bring residents here, more residents here, raise tax dollars, beautify the city. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Ms. Lewitt?
I am in agreement. I think that there are probably some smaller houses in the area, having been around in the area. And once again, this would definitely be part of our sustainability for the city. So I don't have any problem with it as well.
Okay. I do. So I think this lot is much too small, and if I was a neighbor, I would be here, and I would be saying I absolutely do not want that house in this neighborhood. So that's my opinion. So I will be voting no, but I am happy to entertain a motion.
Okay. Should I make a motion?
Yep.
Okay. We have 2504.
2504, yep.
Yeah. Okay. In regard to case number 2504, the appellant, Anton Daniels, is requesting the following waiver from the board to construct a new two-story single-family residence with a non-conforming side yard setback, minimum total size 16 feet proposed, 20 feet required, a variance of 4 feet, with a non-conforming minimum lot width 40 feet proposed, 65 feet required, a variance of 25 feet, with a non-conforming minimum first floor area, 855 square feet proposed, 1,000 square feet required, a variance of 145 square feet, with a non-conforming required lot area, 5,400 square feet proposed, 7,500 square feet required, a variance of 2,100 square feet, with a non-conforming front yard setback, 28 feet proposed, 30 feet required, a variance of 2 square feet, with a non-conforming maximum height, 27.5 feet proposed, 25 feet allowed. Property is located on the north side of Hilton Street between Evergreen Road and Santa Barbara at 0 Hilton Street, Lot 426, Sidwell, parcel 762423382020. I move that we approve the waiver based on the following, that the proposed construction is consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, or at least the intent. The proposed, or at least the spirit, maybe neither. That I base this recommendation on the fact that the new house will be a welcome addition to the city of Southfield, and would not be a detriment to the surrounding area, and I move that we approve all these waivers.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Nay. Your request is granted. Again, continue to work with the city on your permitting. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, will the city call the next case, please?
The appellant requested to postpone case 25-03 to a date certain of 4/1/25. Please see attached email.
Okay, can I have a motion to postpone case 2503?
So moved.
And a second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Will the city call the next case, please?
Case number case 25-06. The City of Southfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing regarding the appellant, Andrew Zilke, Blue Ranch Holdings LLC, is requesting the following from the board: a variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 9 feet proposed, a variance of 4 feet in height. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road between Windflower Drive and 12 Mile Road at 29970 Southfield Road, Sidwell, parcel number 762412153019, zoned B3, General Business District. This appeal is to Section 8.602C, Article 11, Chapter 99 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Is the appellant here?
Hi, Andrew Zelke, 4564 Oakhurst Ridge Road, Clarkson, Michigan, 48348.
Great, thank you. All right, if you could explain to the board what you're asking for and why, please.
So basically, we're asking for a taller monument sign that the city ordinance, above what the city ordinance allows, to make sure that we get above the fence road that's along Southfield Road that's proposed, and try to keep in with spirit with what they're trying to do as far as a corridor with a fence and landscaping in the front. And if we have a shorter sign, we'll have to eliminate the fencing and a lot of the landscaping front. So we're looking to get the sign a little bit taller, so we clear above the brick columns and the fencing along Southfield Road, and to allow that to remain in place, and to make it uniform up and down Southfield Road to currently what it is right now.
Okay. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Andrew Zelke, Blue Ranch Holdings, LLC, is requesting the following from the board. A variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 9 feet proposed, a variance of 4 feet in height. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road between Windflower Drive and 12 Mile Road at 29970 Southfield Road, Sidwell parcel number 762412153019, zoned B3, General Business District. This appeal is to Section 8.602C, Article 11, Chapter 99 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. The property to the north is zoned B3 General Business and is developed with several restaurants, a pet grooming service, a foot care service, and a phone service store. The property to the south is zoned RS Regional Shopping and is developed with multiple single-story mercantile businesses, including clothing and sports apparel stores, a party supply store, and a fitness center. The property to the east is zoned RMM, multiple family, medium rise, and is a developed multifamily, two-story apartment community. The properties to the west are zoned OS, office service, and is developed with a dental care office, several restaurants, and one active and one former vacant financial institution. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals a variety of different types of zoning as previously mentioned, including B3, RS, RMM, and OS. The subject property is the location of a proposed new restaurant and is also zoned B3. The subject property is a 3,808 square foot building presently under construction. Once completed, the site will have 2 entrance exits, one at Windflower Drive and one at Southfield Road. The appellant received approval for a similar garden ground sign, ZBA case 24-31, a variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 6 feet proposed, a variance of 1 foot in height, approved at the December 3rd, 2024 ZBA meeting. The appellant is requesting the following variance. A variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 9 feet proposed, a variance of 4 feet in height.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, I do.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
Yeah, as I was driving up, there's just a couple of signs that are just as tall as this, like the RBs and stuff like that. So there's other signs that are like that along Southfield Road.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
The staff recommendation is favorable consideration for a variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 9 feet proposed, a variance of 4 feet in height, with the following conditions. The digital portion of the garden ground sign meets the requirements of Article 3, Section 8.50A of the sign ordinance, electronic changeable copy, and the appellant secures the required permits from the Southfield Building Department and all required inspections are approved. This recommendation is based on the following. The proposed variances for the garden ground sign and menu board appear to be in minor nature and appear to be consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance, and the proposed variance for the garden ground sign appear to be in keeping with the character of the surrounding areas and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. And the proposed sign would not interfere with or be objectionable from the standpoint of traffic safety. The appellant received approval for a similar garden ground sign, ZBA case 2431, a variance for one garden ground sign that exceeds 5 feet in height, 5 feet allowed, 6 feet proposed, a variance of 1 foot in height, approved at the December 3rd, 2024 ZBA meeting.
All right, thank you. Anything else to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, we'll open public comment on this case. If anyone's here to speak to this case, now would be your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Jenkins?
The subject property to the north is zone B3 general business and is developed with several restaurants.
Oh, wait, just want to know if you agree with,
Oh, okay.
you
I was
agree?
just trying to tell.
You're going to make a motion?
Yeah, okay. I agree.
Okay.
Move forward. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with it.
Okay. Mr. Rogers?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Ms. Libet?
I'm still trying to understand why we need the 9 feet again.
A fence? I think the landscaping plan?
Yeah, the landscaping plan, along Southfield Road, they're trying to get columns and a fence row. And if I install those, the columns and fence row and the landscaping will block the lower type of a sign. Because the way the clearance with the sign in relation to the road and the setbacks along the road itself.
Thank you.
Any thoughts? Any further thoughts? Thinking about it?
6 feet is a whole lot different than 9 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just going to stick out
Mm-hmm.
like a sore thumb, and I think we're opening ourselves up.
Okay.
I just have some doubts.
Okay. I'm not too concerned. I think, again, on a busy, fast-moving street, the point of signage is to draw attention, and I'd rather it be a little bit up in the air rather than low, especially with the height of vehicles at this point. So I'm inclined to support it. So, Mr. Jenkins, would you like to make a motion now?
I would like to recommend that we approve this as suggested by the staff recommendations.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Your motion is granted, and please work with the city on, I guess, a new permit. All right, will the city call the next case, please?
The appellant, James Henley, case number 25-02. The appellant, James Henley, agent representing the Archdiocese of Detroit, owner, is requesting the following from the board: a temporary use permit to allow a proposed modular office trailer on the property during renovation of the Holy Sepulchre Administration Building. Second request. The property is located on the north side of 10 Mile Road between Waycross and McAllister Streets at 25800 West 10 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel number 2419200006, zoned RE Single Family Residential. This appeal is to Section 5.198, Article 23, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Great, thank you. Is the appellant here? Just make sure you pull the microphone right down to you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Trombley from the Archdiocese of Detroit Cemeteries. James Henley no longer works for the cemetery, so he is no longer the agent. That would be me now. My address is 14098 Park Street in Livonia, Michigan. We are going to be constructing or increasing office space in our administrative building to house a growing staff, and we are using the trailer as some additional office space for the upper management because our lease ran out at our old office building across the street.
Okay. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For ZBA case 25-02, the appellant Sherry Trombley, agent representing the Archdiocese of Detroit, owner, is requesting the following from the board: temporary use permit to allow a proposed modular office trailer on the property during renovation of the Holy Sepulchre Administration Building. Second request. Property is located on the north side of 10 Mile Road between Waycross and McAllister Streets. Sidwell parcel 2419200006, zoned RE Single Family Residential. Property is currently developed with the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. Properties to the north across 11 Mile Road are zoned RC Regional Center and are developed various commercial office buildings. Properties to the south across 10 Mile Road are zoned RE Single Family Residential, OS Office Service, and B3 General Business, and are developed with single-family homes, offices, and retail commercial businesses. The properties to the east are zoned R2 Single Family Residential, developed with single-family homes, and the Christian Tabernacle Church, RE Single Family Residential, developed with single-family homes fronting McAllister Street, and OS Office Service and P Vehicular Parking, developed with the For Kids' Sake Montessori School. Properties to the west are zoned TVR, Television Radio Office Studio, and RE Single Family Residential, and are developed with WKBD, undeveloped property owned by the Southfield School District, and single-family homes within the Edgewood Hills subdivision, respectively. The site contains 372.83 acres of land, with 1,653 feet of frontage on 10 Mile Road and a depth of 5,310 feet. The applicant is currently utilizing a 10-foot by 44-foot, 440-square-foot temporary office trailer with the original approved intent to house employees during the construction of a building addition to Holy Sepulchre's existing administration building. The current hours of use are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The building addition project has been delayed, but there are managers working in the temporary office at this time that came from another location who will be permanently housed in the addition once it is constructed. Construction is tentatively planned to start in June or July with the goal of completion by the end of the year or early 2026 at the latest. The nearest property to the proposed trailer location is the daycare site to the southeast. Proposed temporary trailer is over 285 feet from the edge of the parking lot and will be shielded from the daycare property, or is shielded from the daycare property by a heavy buffer consisting of mature trees at the common property line. Nearest residential property fronting McAllister is over 320 feet to the northeast and is also screened with a heavy buffer of mature trees along the common property as well as in the backyard of the residence. Further, the residential lot is very deep, so the home itself is over 700 feet from the temporary trailer location. As of today's date, we are not aware of any complaints made by adjacent neighbors or residents concerning the temporary trailer. The appellant is aware that this is the last one-year approval that may be requested. If this request is approved, the appellant is aware that the temporary use must be discontinued and the site must be restored to its prior condition before March 5th, 2026.
All right, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
No?
Okay, will the city read the staff recommendation, please?
Staff's recommendation is to approve with the following conditions. This temporary use approval is good for 1 year from March 4th, 2025 until March 4th, 2026. No further extensions will be recommended. The site must be restored to its prior condition after conclusion of the temporary use. If any complaints are made or issues arise from activity at the site, the appellant will be required to appear back before this board to discuss how the issues will be mitigated. This recommendation is based upon the following. The planning department is not aware of any complaints received regarding the temporary use. Proposed temporary use is not and will not adversely affect the character of the area and will not be injurious to the surrounding neighborhood nor contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance. And the proposed site improvements will continue to provide adequate protection to abutting uses due to the distance away from abutting properties, heavily wooded natural buffers, and conditions that the city is requiring as part of this case.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, perfect, thank you. We'll open public comment. If you're here to speak on this case, now would be your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Friedman?
No issues with it.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Rogers?
I'm okay with it as well.
Great. Ms. Levitt?
I'm okay
Fine.
as well.
I'm also
I want
fine.
to make one comment.
Oh, yes, please.
Thanks you for who you are, for so many. I'm talking about the cemetery. Thank you for what you do for so many. Okay.
Thank you, yes.
I know where it is. Okay, I pass it every day.
It's a rewarding job.
All right, so let's see, Ms. Levitt, will you make a motion first?
Sure. Regarding case number 25-02, the appellant, Sherry Trombley, agent representing the Archdiocese of Detroit, owner, is requesting the following from the board. A temporary use permit to allow proposed modular office trailer on the property during renovation of the Holy Sepulchre Administration Building. This is the second request. The property is located on the north side of 10 Mile Road between Waycross and McAllister Streets, Sidwell, parcel number 2419-200-006, zoned RE Single Family Residential. I move to approve the following conditions. The temporary use approval is good for 1 year from March 4th, 2025 until March 4th, 2026. No further extensions will be recommended. The site must be restored to its prior condition after conclusion of the temporary use. If any complaints are made or issues arise from activity at the site, the appellant will be required to appear back before the board to discuss how the issues will be mitigated. The recommendation is based on the following. The planning department is not aware of any complaints received regarding the temporary use. The proposed temporary use is not and will not adversely affect the character of the area and will not be injurious to the surrounding neighborhood, nor contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance, and the proposed site improvements will continue to provide adequate protection to abutting uses due to the distance away from the abutting properties, heavily wooded natural buffers, and conditions that the city is requiring as part of this case, and I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your request is granted. Good luck with your construction. Okay, will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 25-05. The City of Southfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing regarding the appellant, Karen A. Butler of New Par DBA Verizon Wireless owner, is requesting the following from the board. A variance of the required durable material at the base of a building with a glass frontage. 18 inches of durable material required, 6 inches proposed. The property is located on the west side of Telegraph Road between Northwestern Highway and 12 Mile Road at 28117 Telegraph Road, Sidwell, parcel number 2417201-071, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is to section 5.38-1, article 4, chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Is the appellant here?
I'm not Karen. I'm representing Karen Butler and Verizon Wireless. My name is Jeremy Irvin, 33723 Hunters Point Road in Farmington Hills. And I'm with Inform Studio, the architect working with Verizon Wireless, and happy to represent them here before you. So thanks for your time tonight. This building, if you're familiar with it, has been around for a long time. Verizon has been a tenant in this building for a long time, and actually, this is actually a unique case for Verizon among their stores around the country because they're not a tenant, actually, they're the owner of a building. That typically, with Verizons that we see around the country, that we work with them all the time, most of their buildings are leases, and this in particular is one that they own. And so this is something that has been, this renovation that's being proposed, something that's been discussed for years. And so we're really actually excited at this point because we've been through this before and never gotten to this point where we actually have a design that they want to carry forward. And I wanted to make mention of that. It's very important because at this particular moment, Verizon is releasing a new prototype for their retail stores that is being launched. In fact, they've done some tests around the country, a few tests, and this is one of the very first that they are going to be instituting this new prototype in. And the prototype calls for not simply an interior renovation of a store, but something that reflects their brand identity on the exterior. And that's why it's so important for them, for a number of reasons, to do what is being proposed that you see there in the elevations and the rendering. One of the things, if you know this building at all, with the rotunda in the front, is it's really not conducive for a retail store. This was built actually back in the day as a cell phone store, and it was built, I believe, in the 80s. It was owned by Cellular One Retail, and that was back in the day when they were installing car phones. And so that's why you have the garage bays across the side of the building. It's because that was basically what they were set up to do. So it was a completely different orientation to what the retail environment was for phones at that time. And now it's very important for Verizon as they go forward to have a very open presentation for customers as they approach the building. And that is the intent with the large glass frontage that you see there. What's very important to them is that they have it very open, very warm, and very inviting, so that there's a bit of a glow that comes from the interior of the building. And so as we were going through this design, we were alerted to the ordinance requirement that there's a single paragraph in the ordinance that talks about durable material. And of course, we're concerned with durable material. Verizon certainly is, because they want to be here for the duration, a long duration. And there's a section in this requirement in 5.38-1, architectural requirements, where glass frontage is proposed. 18-inch minimum of said durable material is required. So they talk about durable material in this, and it says stone, parentheses, stone, brick, or other materials determined to be adequately durable for commercial application. And our contention is that glass storefront and curtain wall system, this is a curtain wall system that we're proposing, is a durable commercial material. So we're actually a bit confused about the language of the ordinance as relates to this particular section. Normally what we see in ordinances around the country, and probably it's been a concern here too, is the idea of EFIS or similar materials that might go down to the ground that is not a durable material, and we don't want that, because if you're familiar with EFIS, if you bash something against it, like say a snow shovel or something, and it cuts a hole in the material, you'll get water infiltration in there, and it will start to deteriorate the system and destroy the system. And so even the EFIS manufacturers will say, we don't want you to do that. We recommend you should have it overhead and above, even though you see buildings all around that where they come down all the way. That's certainly not what we're proposing here. The building has no EFIS on it, okay? But there's basically the idea of the materiality of the building is that everything we're proposing is durable. We're asking for what might seem as a minimal variance in a way, because we're talking about 18 inches of said durable material. We're bringing it down to the ground, or maybe actually still have a curb of sorts there that would protect against a snow shovel, something like that. That's really the concern, the only concern that Verizon would have about the durability of the material. It has nothing to do with cleaning or maintenance or anything like that. There's no maintenance, maybe just some cleaning. In fact, the reason that we would have that slight ledge at the bottom is really just for such a thing as a snow shovel, or also in the event of long term, if the glass system with the seal at the bottom of it happened to fail. Hopefully it doesn't. If they're installed correctly, they don't. But if it did happen to fail, because it's a flatter site, we don't want to have water backing up into the building. So having a slight ledge at the bottom is desirable. But Verizon felt very strongly about the fact that with this glass facade, that they wanted to open it up as clearly and as cleanly as possible for the design. And so that's why they are going through this whole process for this, because it's highly important to them. They're really looking at this as a flagship presentation of a store, and this is a great opportunity for them to do that. So this would be, as I've stated, removing, staying within the bounds of the building, basically renovating it such that the rotunda is gone, and then this new facade is the presentation of the building, which would be observable from Telegraph Road. This is actually a Telegraph Road address, but it's got that little slight curve where you're going onto the Northwestern Drive, so it's actually set back from Telegraph Road there. So, again, just wanting to open it up and really be warm and inviting. So that is our request to have the glazing to be able to go down.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For ZBA case 25-05, the appellant, Jeremy Irvin of Inform Studio Architect, representing the owner, Newpar DBA Verizon Wireless, is requesting the following from the board: variance of the required durable material at the base of the building, the glass frontage, 18 inches of durable material required, 6 inches proposed. Property is located on the west side of Telegraph Road between Northwestern Highway and 12 Mile Road at 28117 Telegraph Road, Sidwell parcel 2417-201071, Zone B3 General Business. Property is currently developed with the Verizon Wireless Retail Store. Properties to the north, south, and west are Zone B3 General Business and are developed with Marvel Technologies, Sarah Chevrolet, and a self-storage facility, respectively. Property to the east, across Telegraph Road, is zoned RS Regional Shopping and is developed with the Tel 12 Shopping Center. The site contains .84 acres of land with 115.0 feet of frontage and a depth of 260.77 feet. The approved site plan indicates the removal of the existing rotunda structural feature of the existing Verizon building, the restoration and renovation of the building facade, concrete work, and landscaping. The approved elevations reflect a mix of metal, glass, and painted masonry. Section 5.38-1, Article 4 of the zoning ordinance was amended on October 21st, 2021 to establish architectural requirements for building facades. All structural facades must incorporate a durable material such as stone, brick, or another material deemed sufficiently durable for commercial use by the city planner and/or building official at the base of the structure. This material must extend either 3 feet in height to the sill line of any exterior windows, whichever is lower. For facades with glass frontage, minimum of 18 inches of durable material is required. Proposed south and west building elevations comply with the required architectural standards. However, both the west and north building would be the north and east building elevations reflect glass frontages with only 6 inches of durable material at the base. Since the adoption of the architectural requirement standards, no variance requests have been submitted for review or approved for this section.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add at this time?
I think I've pretty much said my piece on
Okay.
that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Fair. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff's recommendation is to deny based upon the following: no undue or unnecessary hardship exists, which would prevent the applicant from complying with the required architectural standards, and there are no unique conditions related to the property or the proposed structure that would prevent the applicant from complying with required architectural standards.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add before we open public comment?
I guess I would just say to what was said there that it's true if you look at the letter of the ordinance. I don't think that in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance that this doesn't keep in the spirit of the ordinance. Glass, in our opinion, is a durable material. The curtain wall system is a structural system. It's not just a storefront system, but it is a curtain wall system. That's why you have 14 feet and some change of height on the glazing system. And so, yeah, we would say that this is a durable material.
Okay, thank you. So we will open public comment. If there's anyone here to speak to this case, now would be your opportunity. Seeing none, we will turn it over to the board. Mr. Rogers?
It seems like this architectural requirement's never been, it's never been tested. I think that glass is durable. I mean, I'm not here to argue regarding that. I think the glass is durable. I think the presentation of the Verizon building, what they're planning on doing, is really nice. I understand what they're trying to do at where it's located. I go to that Verizon store. And they're invested in the property, which is also important. If the whole idea of having this architectural requirement is for durability or the longevity of the product, then I don't, once again, glass is something, unless you ran a car into it, it would seem to me to hold up. It's probably, it's tempered, it's probably very thick, and it has a structural curb that it's dying into at the floor level. It also looks like it's set in. It's not, the glass is not the furthest exterior point of the building, which makes it a little bit more protected as well, perhaps, from the elements. So I personally don't have a problem with this variance that's being requested on this architectural requirement.
Okay, Ms. Levitt?
I would agree. After looking at this, which is much better than that, I understand that, and I'm sure that it would be tempered glass that you would be using. So I don't have any problem with the request.
Okay.
I'm actually a no on this. I agree with you, it's better looking, and I understand Verizon wants it, but this is a new, relatively new ordinance. The city specifically contemplates a glass structure and says it has to have 18 inches. I would assume glass all the way down to the floor would always look better. The city put this ordinance in for a reason, for whatever. I'm not sure what it is. Again, I agree with you that the glass looks better all the way down. But the city put the ordinance in there for a reason, and you don't have any particular Verizon specific or that building specific a reason for asking for your waiver. So I would go with the city here and deny it.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins? Our construction expert, sir?
Well, considering, the only thing is, my question is, if we do this, then the ordinance, because he said here, there's never been an objection to it.
Right, so the ordinance would stay, but it would appear that we may grant a variance if somebody brought another variance, potentially.
Well, I like the look myself, okay? And, with tempered glass, I'm in construction, so I know what it is, okay? I'm okay with it, okay?
Okay. So I'm not in construction, so I have a few questions. I guess I have a security question. So,
Sure.
like, how strong is it? Like, could somebody break into it with a crowbar?
Are you talking about the glazing system?
Like, how strong would this glass be? Like, I guess we're
This is not some kind of special bulletproof glass or anything like that.
Okay.
What we do have, Verizon's very concerned with security. What Verizon does do is they provide interior shutters that roll down in the evenings that are perforated, so you can actually still visually see in.
Okay.
And there's actually still light that can come out as well. They're within the interior. And so from a security standpoint, purely security standpoint, that is an impediment for any would-be person trying to get into the building.
Okay.
I would say that an 18-inch curb, we've seen times around the country where an 18-inch curb doesn't do anything. If someone's really trying to bash some truck into a facade, they could get in.
Okay.
That's the 18-inch durable material. This is a little bit of why we were trying to figure out, the language in the ordinance does not really explain what the material concern is. They don't say whether it's a security issue, so we're not sure of that.
Sure.
And it
And
could
we
just be a
don't write the
material.
ordinance, just
Is
to
your
be clear.
assumption?
Sure.
Is your assumption that it would be to stop a car?
What's the question?
The reasoning for the ordinance. Could the city answer, perhaps, is the reason for this ordinance to stop a car?
If I might,
Sorry.
through the chair to Mr. Friedman, that was the intent, was we have lots of vehicles who jump curbs and end up in the buildings, and
But that's the intent. That's
that
what
was
I-
the intent of having that height of
18 inches.
durable.
That's
right?
not gonna stop a car from getting in.
I think the location, I don't think you have a problem with, where they're located, I don't think you have a problem with, cars coming through there speeding. Okay.
Right, okay.
Can I say something to
So the
that?
visual that we have is, it's only going to look like that when it's open. When it's closed, there's going to be some kind of gate-style system for security that's
Yeah,
going to come down
it's
behind
a sort of a
those.
clean-looking shutter system that would be behind the glass.
I
Okay.
didn't hear what he said. He said yes.
Yeah, there's a shutter system. that
Okay,
goes
he's gonna-
behind
A
the-
security
okay,
shutter
okay, that's
behind
fine.
the system.
That makes sense, okay.
It would be full height.
It's not clear, but
Okay. That's kind of what I was wondering.
it's
Okay.
not clear.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I do like the way it looks. I'm inclined to, test it there and see. Mr. Rogers, do you want to make a motion?
I
you
move
wanna-
forward.
you wanna make a motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, to approve.
The request?
that what you-
Yep,
you-
yep, no,
No,
that's
I'm not.
fine. Go ahead.
You want to do it?
No, you can go ahead, you can read the words, okay?
In regards to ZBA case 25-05, the appellant, Karen A. Butler of New Par DBA Verizon Wireless owner, is requesting the following from the board: a variance of the required durable material at the base of a building with a glass frontage, 18 inches of durable material required, 6 inches proposed. Property is located on the west side of Telegraph Road between Northwestern Highway and 12 Mile Road at 28117 Telegraph Road, Sidwell parcel 2417-201-071, Zone B3 General Business. I make a motion to approve this proposed variance for the required durable material at 6 inches versus 18 inches.
Leave it at that.
Hmm?
Leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not believe that there would be any undue or unnecessary hardships. Well, actually, this is not really about hardships.
Just a
Yeah,
motion to approve.
just making a motion to approve this. There's really no conditions or
Okay,
anything.
can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay?
Hey.
Okay, your request is granted. I guess just good luck and continue to work with the city for whatever permits are needed as you move into your construction phase. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public hearing. We do have a set of minutes from January 7th. Does anybody have any concerns, changes, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then next meeting, looks like we have no cases for March 18th, so can I have a motion to cancel the meeting for March 18th?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Great. Next meeting, April 1st, with 3 commercial cases. Nicole, does that include the one that we postponed?
Yes, it
Okay,
does.
so 2503 as well. Should people that have paper keep their copies? Or do people who have paper of 2503 keep their documents? Or will you reproduce documents?
Oh, I can, yep, they'll be in the packet again.
Okay, all right. Any miscellaneous from anyone? All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned.
Thank you.